almost immediately demonstrating Jon Stewart's lesson about loopholes and how you cling to power, even if you've been rejected by the voters. Take a look at what is happening in North Carolina right now. Now, North Carolina is a state where the Democrats won the governorship by a lot, but the Republicans don't give a damn about the will of the voters there. They care about power. And so, as you're seeing right there, they are ramming through at the last second a power grab in the form of a hurricane relief bill. Okay, there was no public notice on what was going to be in that. They did it in secret for reasons that will be very clear to you. They didn't want most people to know what was in this bill. They didn't even want a lot of Republicans to know what's in this bill, and we're going to tell them. And so what they're doing effectively is stripping the incoming Democratic governor of a bunch of his powers because they lost that race, okay? The voters wanted a Democrat, and the Republican state legislature says, screw you. We don't care what you want. Yeah, you'll get your Democratic governor, or at least what's left of him at that point, but that's not all they've done. So the bill prevents the governor from appointing members of the state election board and transfers that authority to the state auditor, who's going to be a Republican. That means that the Republicans will be able to appoint majorities on the state election board, as well as 100 county election boards, potentially allowing them to manipulate things and change the results of elections, even though the Democrat is supposed to have that power. That is what the people of North Carolina voted for. They are now going to allow the governor just 2 appointments to the Utilities Commission, which sets public utility rates rather than 3. And if you're a conservative, if you're a Republican in North Carolina, you might think, well, what's the difference? No, but do you get why they don't want him to be able to put as many people on that board that helps set the utility rates? Because he would try to encourage the rates to go down. He would try to stop the energy producing companies that have a stranglehold on that in North Carolina to not jack up the prices. And the Republicans are looking out for the energy companies. So if you're in North Carolina, if you look at your energy bill and think, dear God, this sucks. Yeah. And it was in no small part brought to you thanks to the Republicans who you for some reason support. Now, in addition to that, the bill prevents the state's incoming attorney general from filing lawsuits that contradict the positions of the legislature or joining lawsuits that originate in other states or with private actors. The bill also changes the composition of the state courts. It eliminates 2 judicial seats held by judges who ruled against the legislature in voting rights cases and creates 2 new judicial positions that will be appointed by the GOP legislature. And it specifies that the governor can only fill judicial vacancies with members of the same party. Which, by the way, since we're in the season of the Democrats learning how to exploit loopholes, just take a Democrat and have them register as a Republican, okay? That would be my solution. But all of this is them saying, okay, so thanks to extreme gerrymandering in North Carolina, we have a stranglehold on the legislature there. No longer supermajority, mind you. The Democrats broke that because, again, people wanted the Democrats in power, but they still have enough control that they can pass bills. And so they take the limited power that they still have, thanks to the systemic way that things have been set up, and they say, no, we get power over everything else. Even if the people tried to give it to the Democrats in the executive branch of the state and in the judiciary, screw that, we get control. And this sucks, it's deeply anti-democratic, I would say it's immoral, but they can do it, and so they're doing it. And so it should be a lesson to the Democrats. If a Republican wins the governorship in a state where the Democrats control the legislature, what's good for the North Carolina goose is good for the gander, I suppose. You can do this same stuff. You can apparently make it so only Democrats can be appointed to judicial vacancies, or maybe if a Senate seat opens up, or if we need a special election for Congress. Screw that, take a stranglehold on power and keep squeezing and squeezing and squeezing until the Republican Party finally says, okay, we'll do things fairly. But they're never gonna do that willingly. They're never gonna give this up. You have to force them to. And they're showing you exactly how to do that. Anyway, I know you're much closer to North Carolina than me. What do you make of this?
Close enough to smell it. It's true. When you mention things like utilities and the like, this is a takeover. This is a dictatorship. Can you believe people actually began voting against their own interests probably decades ago at this point? It's what it is. And once again, you may not like this game. It may not be what you're passionate about or aligned with your own morals and integrity, but you gotta fight to get life back to some semblance of decency. We're just talking about a little bit like the old way. It wasn't decent then either, but this is just way out of bounds.
100% agree. And by the way, I want to demonstrate again. This is not going to convince the Republicans to give up what power they can grab, obviously. But for the purposes of our audience, the Democratic incoming governor there is going to have far less power than the Republican that's being replaced or whatever. Even though I think a strong case can be made that he has an absolute mandate. Actually, something beyond a mandate, something beyond a landslide, because that's the sort of terminology that's being used to describe Donald Trump's victory over Harris. But as you'll see in these numbers, it's not comparable at all. Right there, Josh Stein, new Democratic governor, absolutely whooped Mark Robinson's porn-addicted ass, okay, by about 15 points. That was like old Jim Ross would have called it a slobber knocker right there. He beat him so bad. And honestly, Mark Robinson, as filled with kinks and alternative interests as possible, he may get off on how badly he was beaten in that election. Just keep it to yourself, Mark Robinson, post on forums. But anyway, Donald Trump, meanwhile, barely beat Harris. By the way, those numbers aren't even, that's the numbers in North Carolina. The actual national numbers are far closer. Donald Trump didn't even get the majority of votes cast. And so he beat Harris by a couple of points in North Carolina. Republicans and Democrats, they were like, I guess we'll go with you. And then they looked at the gubernatorial race and they were like, hell no on Mark Robinson. We want some Stein. And so they gave him that, okay? And so, they're gonna claim a landslide no matter what. Stein should come in talking about the greatest landslide that North Carolina has literally ever seen, and he should rule accordingly. Anyway, any final points? Any advice for the Democrats going forward?
My mind's a little clouded because of suddenly pleather is on my mind. You talked about Mark Robinson and we're good.
I think we're good without Mark Robinson.
We're good.
Who, by the way, probably going to enter the White House. He's probably going to get appointed to some position.
Sure.
I don't know. Something controlling the internet. I don't know. Members make a difference here at TYT. You help make the show happen, and we see you in the chat with your loyalty badge. Click the join button to become a member today.